Today we're going to look at how to add and how to subtract integers. Remember that integers are just numbers with a negative, with the positive, whole numbers. So the first rule says here, if you have the same sign, you are going to add the numbers and the answer has the sign of the numbers. The second rule, when you add or subtract, if they have different signs, you subtract the numbers and the answer has the sign of the biggest number. So let's go ahead and follow the rules to add or subtract these two numbers. I have -2 plus -5. So I like for you guys to do is circle the signs of the numbers. The sign on the left side tells you what the number is. So we have a -2 plus we have a -5. So notice we have the same sign. So when we have the same sign, we're going to add the numbers 2 and 5. So add is 7 and they have a negative. So my answer has the sign of the numbers, -7. If they have different signs, for example this one, -5 plus 2, notice they have different signs because the 5 is negative, plus works as a positive. So the 2 is +2, is on the left side of the 2. When they have different signs, subtract the number and you keep the sign of the biggest number. In this case, the biggest number, 5 and 2, between those two numbers, 5 is the biggest one. So the negative stays in your answer, that's the biggest number, and when you subtract 5 and 2, you get 3. So let's just try another example. We have a -25 plus 10. Negative is inside the parentheses, so the -25 and 10 is positive. So they have different signs. So you subtract the number and you keep the sign of the biggest number. 25 is the biggest one. So the answer is negative, and when you subtract is 15. -15. And let's try one more. Here we have a -21, so negative plus -10. So the one inside of the parentheses is negative. When you have the same sign, you add the numbers and you keep the sign, negative, and add the numbers, -31. A double negative is when you have two negatives side by side with the parentheses in between. So if you look at number 11, we have 5 minus -2. So we have a negative, that is a double negative. Number 12, we have 11 minus -20. So we have negative with the parenthesis in between. That's a double negative. So let's try sum. The rule is when you have a double negative, the number inside of the parentheses becomes positive. So let's try it. So notice here, number 11, you guys would need to change the number inside of the parentheses positive. There is a rule. Math teachers, they change the sign so they show you that it does become positive. I'll do that. The 5 stays the same. The minus becomes positive and the negative inside becomes positive. So it's a double negative. So you can rewrite this as 5 plus 2. So the 2 was negative, now it becomes positive. You can add the numbers, so the answer is 7. Number 12, same process. You guys will change the number inside of the parentheses to a positive. Double check you have a double negative. So you bring down the 11. The number inside becomes positive 20. And you just add. Sometimes you guys have a negative in the front of the first number. So here we have a -10 minus -13, so we do have a double negative. The number in front, the first number, stays the same. So you keep the sign, -10, don't change the sign. The one that becomes positive is the one inside of the parentheses. So positive 13. Now remember, you need to follow the rules. We have a negative and a positive number, so different signs. The biggest number is 13, So the answer is positive, and subtract the numbers. 13 minus 10 is 3, and the biggest number is positive. But remember, we don't need that plus sign next to a number, so you can erase it, and it's 3. The last one I want to show you is 15. This one's a little bit different because you have a negative at the beginning. Notice we have parentheses in between. So the rule is the same. You guys need to change those to positives because we have a double negative here. This one doesn't have parentheses, so it will stay the same. So in reality, these two signs become positive. So you have positive 22 plus 5. The 5 stays the same. It's not a double negative, and you get 27. One of the things that you also have to remember is the additive inverse, which is the opposite of the same number. So some examples here, I have a positive 7, so the additive inverse, the opposite is negative 7. Negative 10, the opposite, or additive inverse is positive 10. So when you add or when you subtract the additive inverse, just like this one here, number 17, 10 plus negative 10, they cancel each other. So the answer will be 0. And every time you have the additive inverse, the numbers will cancel. They will equal to 0.